What if I told you that one of the most powerful cities on Earth almost never existed? That it was built on stolen water, borrowed land, and an idea that most people thought was insane. This is Los Angeles, and nothing about it was supposed to work. Dreams, ambition, impossible odds. That's the DNA of this city. From ancient settlements buried beneath freeways to Spanish missions rising out of desert dust. From a forgotten Mexican pueblo to the entertainment capital of the entire world. From orange groves to oil fields to Oscar nights. This is a story of visionaries and con men, of water wars and railroad empires, of immigrants who crossed oceans and deserts chasing something they couldn't even name. Just a feeling that maybe, under the California sun, anything was possible. This is the entire history of Los Angeles, and it starts long before the cameras, long before the highways, long before anyone called it anything at all. Around 9000 BC, the Chumash arrived. They found rolling hills, fertile valleys, and a coastline that seemed to go on forever. And they stayed. For thousands of years, they built one of the oldest continuous human civilizations in what we now call Southern California. By about 3,000 years ago, the Chumash weren't just surviving here. They were thriving. They were master boat builders, skilled fishermen. They crafted elegant plank canoes called tummels, sleek, seaworthy vessels that cut through Pacific waters like nothing else on the coast at the time. Their settlements stretched into what is now Malibu. Their heartland was in present-day Ventura and Santa Barbara, and they were artists, creators of intricate baskets, shell bead currency, and cave paintings that still exist today. Think about that. Thousands of years before Hollywood invented storytelling, these people were already leaving images on stone walls for the world to find. Then, in 1542, everything changed. A Portuguese explorer named Juan Rodrigues Cabrillo sailed along the California coast, the first European to document this land. When he gazed out over what is now the San Pedro Bay, he named it the Bay of Smokes, because from the water, he could see dozens of fires rising from native villages along the shore. He had no idea what he was looking at. He had no idea what was coming. 1769. Spanish explorer Gaspar de Portola leads an expedition north from Baja California. Soldiers, missionaries, settlers, all of them moving overland through terrain no European had ever crossed. And when they reach a wide river valley, they stop. They camp alongside a river they name El Río de Nuestra Señora la Reina de los Ángeles, the River of Our Lady, Queen of the Angels. It's a mouthful, but the name sticks, at least part of it. 12 years later, in 1781, 11 families officially found a small pueblo on the banks of that river. 44 people total, most of them from Mexico. All of them with no idea they're standing on the future site of a city of 4 million. That's where Los Angeles begins. Not with skyscrapers, not with movie studios, with 44 people and a river. By 1797, the Spanish mission system had pushed deep into the San Fernando Valley. Mission San Fernando Rey de España rose from the earth, whitewashed adobe walls, red-tiled roofs, a bell tower you could see for miles. It was the 17th of California's 21 missions, and it served a clear purpose: agriculture, livestock, religious conversion, and the labor of indigenous people brought under Franciscan control. But the Spanish understood something else too, something that would define Los Angeles for the next 2 centuries. Water is everything. They engineered the Zania Madre, the Mother Ditch, an irrigation system that channeled water from the Los Angeles River to farms, homes, and the Central Plaza. A network of earthen canals that kept the pueblo alive. The Zanjero, the water overseer, was one of the most powerful officials in early Los Angeles. Not the general, not the priest, the man who controlled the water. Sound familiar? Because that dynamic never really changed. By 1821, Mexico had won independence from Spain, and California came with it. Los Angeles spent the next 2 decades as a Mexican territory. A quiet rancho town, adobe buildings, dusty plazas, a church at the center of everything. And then came the war. The Mexican-American War was tearing across the continent, and Los Angeles was right in its path. On January 8, 1847, American forces under General Stephen Kearny and Commodore Robert Stockton clashed with California defenders on the banks of the San Gabriel River. Cannons, cavalry, a battle decided in a single day. The Californios, Mexican citizens of California, fought hard. They were outnumbered and outgunned, and when the smoke cleared, the road to Los Angeles was open. 5 days later, it was over. At a ranch house near present-day Universal City, California leader Andres Pico and American Lieutenant Colonel John C. Fremont sat down together. No formal surrender, no humiliation. Just a gentleman's agreement. The Californios would lay down their arms, and in return, they'd receive full rights as American citizens. With the stroke of a pen, Los Angeles changed hands forever. For most of the 1800s, Los Angeles was exactly what its critics called it. A dusty backwater, isolated, overlooked, going nowhere. Then the railroad arrived. In 1874, the first streetcars appeared, horse-drawn wooden cars clattering along iron rails on Main Street. Modest, slow, but significant, because it was the first signal. Los Angeles was done being small. By 1880, the first railroad connected the inland city to its coastal port at San Pedro. Goods, people, and ambition could finally move freely. And then came the rate war. The Southern Pacific and Santa Fe railroads started competing for passengers, slashing ticket prices so aggressively that at one point you could travel from the East Coast to Los Angeles for a single dollar. $1. The flood of migrants that followed was unlike anything California had ever seen. By 1887, a photographer in a hot air balloon captured Los Angeles from above, an orderly grid of streets spreading outward in every direction, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. The sleepy pueblo was gone. Something entirely new was taking its place. 1892. Drillers strike oil at the Los Angeles City oil field. 45 barrels a day at first. Modest, almost underwhelming. But then the wells multiplied. Wooden derricks sprouted across the basin like a forest. The same land that had seeped tar since prehistoric times, tar that the Chumash had used to waterproof their canoes thousands of years earlier, was now producing liquid wealth on an industrial scale. Oil-funded roads, buildings, infrastructure. It drew workers and wildcatters from across the country. It would eventually make Southern California synonymous with the automobile, and the automobile synonymous with freedom. At the same time, Los Angeles was fighting for something else, a harbor. The Southern Pacific Railroad wanted the port built at Santa Monica, which they controlled. Los Angeles wanted San Pedro, a public harbor that no single corporation could own. It was a political war, a financial war, a war over the city's independence. By 1899, Los Angeles had won. Standing at San Pedro, looking out over Terminal Island and Long Beach, tall masted sailing ships at anchor, railroad tracks running right to the docks, you could feel it. This city had just given itself a future. Not everyone shared equally in that future. In the narrow streets near the old plaza, Chinese immigrants had built a community. Many had come to California to work on the railroads, the same railroads that were now driving Los Angeles's growth. They opened shops, restaurants, markets. They created something real and alive in the middle of a rapidly changing city. And they were met with violence. The Chinese Massacre of 1871. Read it: decades of legal discrimination. Exclusion laws designed to erase them. And yet, they stayed. They built. Old Chinatown thrived in that location for decades, until the 1930s, when it was demolished to make way for Union Station. But its spirit wasn't destroyed. A new Chinatown rose nearby. It still stands today. This is the pattern you see again and again in Los Angeles. Communities pushed aside, displaced, erased, and then refusing to disappear. By the early 1900s, Los Angeles had a problem. It was running out of water. The city was growing faster than its river could sustain. And without water, everything, the farms, the new neighborhoods, the ambition, would dry up and blow away. Enter William Mulholland. His plan was audacious to the point of madness. Build an aqueduct stretching 233 miles across mountains, desert, and valley, carrying water from the distant Owens Valley all the way to Los Angeles. No pumps, gravity alone. In 1912, thousands of workers poured into the desert to make it real. They laid massive steel pipes across some of the most unforgiving terrain in America. They blasted through mountains. They worked in temperatures that pushed past anything reasonable, and it worked. When the aqueduct opened in 1913, Mulholland reportedly stood before the crowd and said simply, "There it is, take it." Los Angeles took it, and it never looked back. In 1923, a sign went up in the hills above the city. Hollywoodland, each letter 30 feet wide, 50 feet tall, thousands of light bulbs blinking in sequence at night. It was an advertisement for a real estate development, meant to last a year or two at most. But Hollywood had already become something no real estate brochure could contain. By the 1920s, the movie industry had transformed this once quiet district into the entertainment capital of the world. Directors, actors, screenwriters, and dreamers flooded in from every corner of the country, and then every corner of the planet. The Paramount Pictures Gate on Melrose Avenue became one of the most famous entrances in the world. Marlene Dietrich walked through it, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, legends who became household names in countries they'd never visited. And through that same gate, extras hoping for a day's work. Crew members building entire worlds on a soundstage, only to tear them down a week later. The sign in the hills lost its last 4 letters in 1949. Hollywood. That's all it needed to say. From the 1940s through the 1960s, Los Angeles made a decision that would define it forever. It chose the car. 527 miles of freeways carved through the urban landscape, connecting LA to San Francisco, to San Diego, to dozens of communities stretching in every direction. The scale was staggering, the engineering was genuinely impressive, and the human cost was devastating. 250,000 people were displaced. entire neighborhoods demolished. Communities of color, particularly in East Los Angeles and South Central, bore the heaviest burden as freeways sliced through historic districts and separated families from everything they'd built. The freeway gave Los Angeles its famous sprawl, its freedom of movement, its car culture, and its scars. Some of those scars are still visible today if you know where to look. Los Angeles has been tested over and over. The Watts riots of 1965, the 1992 uprising, earthquakes that shook the city to its foundation, fires that swept through its hills, droughts that reminded everyone this is, at its core, a desert. And every time, it came back. Not unchanged, never unchanged, but back. It became the most diverse metropolis in America, a Pacific Rim gateway where cultures from every nation on Earth collide, mix, and create something that doesn't exist anywhere else. Nearly 4 million people call it home today, from a pueblo of 44. Think about that arc for a moment. From Chumash villages to a city that exports its dreams to every corner of the planet. Los Angeles was never supposed to be what it became. It had no natural harbor, no reliable water supply, no reason, on paper, to grow into one of the great cities of the world. But that's the thing about Los Angeles. It never cared much about what was supposed to happen. It was built by people who showed up with nothing and refused to leave. By people who saw desert and imagined something else. By people who were told no and found a way anyway. That's the city. That's always been the city. From the first fires burning on the shore of the Bay of Smokes to the lights of 10 million windows glowing at night, Los Angeles endures. If this story caught you off guard, if some part of it felt bigger than you expected, that's because it is. Most people think they know LA. Almost no one knows where it actually came from. Thank you for watching all the way through. It genuinely means a lot. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. It helps more people find stories like this one. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring cities, civilizations, and the hidden history underneath the world we think we know. And drop a comment. Which city's history do you want us to rebuild next? Because the next one we dive into might surprise you even more than this one did.
I don't think you'll be able to click on the next video before time runs out.